Department of Roads.
The road budget can be found on page D40 through D42. The budget for the road department for 2018 is being proposed at just over 137 million, which is about a $27 million increase over the prior year. Quite a large increase in road construction and maintenance with corresponding increases in intergovernmental revenue, which is gas and weight tax, and federal funding, which Bryan and Michelle Mikatak will be able to speak to in greater detail if requested. And you'll see a large increase in the capital outlay item from 4 million to 14 million, which you may recall earlier, or last month actually, we came before you and you approved a budget adjustment for 2017. What's going on there is the proposed construction of a new maintenance facility on 15 Mile Road in the tune of $9 million is being included in the 2018 budget. So with that, there are no new positions being added in 2018. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bryan.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the allowance to present roads budget this evening to you. Have to bear with me. This is a newbie here, first timer as far as budget presentation. So
We got lots of questions for you, so don't worry.
I'm sure you probably will, Commissioner Brown.
It's kind of hazing.
But first and foremost, I just wanted to, obviously, being new to this, I want to introduce my staff that I brought with me. They're the brains, brawn, and experience behind the roads department. So Vince Viviano, Chief of Staff, obviously aids in support of overseeing our staff at the roads department and assists with complaints, inquiries from residents and yourselves from your constituents. Michelle Mikatak, obviously our Assistant Finance Director. She's definitely the brains behind all the numbers and behind roads. She does a great job, and with that respect. Walter Schell, County Highway Engineer. He's in charge of our engineering department, road construction end of it, and our programs associated with that. Leo Ciavata is our maintenance supervisor, deals with the maintenance end of it. A lot of you have spoken with him, just a face to the name. Does a great job also. And last but not least, John Abraham. He is our traffic operations director. Anything related to signals, striping, signs, connected vehicles, that type of stuff. He's your man. So with that being said, obviously, just to reiterate as far as Steve Samigo was saying, we do not have any requests for additional positions this year. Keep in mind that our funds are Public Act 51. We are a Public Act 51 agency, so we get dollars from federal and state monies, the Michigan Transportation Fund, and those are designated dollars to road construction and maintenance. So we do get obviously audited and have strict guidelines for how we allocate our funding, and obviously have special audits specifically for our road department when it comes to spending money. We do have additional MTF funds that were allocated from the state. And just a brief summary of that, from 2016 to projected 2017, we're looking at an additional 9.6 million, and projected from 2017 to 18, we're looking at an additional 5.1 million on top of that. With that additional funding, we do have some programs that we are researching and looking into implementing, as far as additional pavement preservation program monies, that's being the HMA or hot mix asphalt and concrete programs that we had presented to you before initially. We are looking at different programs as far as overband sealing, which is when we do a overlay project over an existing pavement, reflective cracking occurs 2 to 3 years later. So preventive maintenance is one of our concerns, and striving to preserve pavements so they don't deteriorate to a point that we have to reconstruct them. There are other programs on concrete pavement that we're looking at, routing and sealing programs. Once again, another preventive maintenance program that we're looking at spending these additional dollars in for our program. One of the other things that you look at as far as the capital line item, We are looking at also replacing our outdated fleet in our maintenance department. I am looking at implementing a 8 to 10 year replacement program. So every 8 to 10 years we would replace, so none of our equipment would be over 8 to 10 years old. We have some trucks in our fleet that are 12 to 15 years old. With that, one of our larger trucks costs about $250,000. And we have a need, for the fixing of those is very costly when they get that old. Secondly is finding parts sometimes for antiquated equipment. So that's some of the increases that you do see as far as the capital outlay items. Once again, we are looking at staffing. I can go back to 2005 when we had 310 employees. Currently, we have about 265 employees, so we are doing more with less. But I can field any of your questions from the other specifics in the budget as was presented.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. The bad news is our constituents' fuel taxes went up and registration fees went up and everybody's paying more as a result of that. The good news is hopefully they're going to have better roads as a result of this. But I'd like to go back and tell them is, yeah, you're paying higher taxes, but every dime of that, or the vast majority of that, is going into better roads, that you're going to get the best value out of that. How is it, though, when I look at, for example, the full-time wages from 2017, 10,000 or 10 million to the projected 18 to 15 million, that's like a 50% increase. Why are full-time wages going up 50% in this budget?
Can you refer to that?
Commissioner, because last year they added positions to the
Well,
budget.
we added 12 new positions last year.
A lot.
Okay, so when I look at 2017 actual and showing 10.7 million essentially, well, that's actual, not amended. Okay.
Yes. That's
Okay,
through
so we're
July.
looking at going from 14, the actual 2017 amended is what I should be looking at there. Okay, that explains that, and I appreciate that. Another question is, and maybe this might be more for Steve, I don't know, but the pension retiree health care is going up, and we've seen it go down in a lot of the other departments as a result of the switching over of our pension plans. I don't know if there's a reason why, especially given that we're bringing in new employees, why it's not going down in this particular department?
When we had gotten our last actuarial report for roads, our percentage of funded had dropped, so we had made a decision to fund extra over, I had talked with Steve about it, and we were going to fund extra so we can try to keep that percentage up because of all the new laws that are coming out with having to be a certain percent funded or you have to put a plan together. So our concern is that if that continues to drop, we would be in that predicament at the road department.
So the savings was put into bolstering up the unfunded getting rid of some of the unfunded
That's
liability.
correct.
Okay. Well, that does make that makes good sense. I appreciate that. I guess the only other question I would have is, the increase from past years, 2016, 2015, 16, 17, in conferences and training. Why has that gone up from like 2016, 60,000 to 192,000?
So that question always gets asked every year. Actually, I think Commissioner Kleinfeld asked that a lot of years. When the departments submit their budget, they submit all the stuff that they would like to attend or think they would like to attend. Many times, because being roads, the conferences are held maybe in Marquette or somewhere far away. We'll look at the content and say, it's not worth going to that conference. There's not enough in there. So they always budget conservatively and put in everything that they would like to attend, but many times they don't go to those. In addition, I know we have a bunch of new people that you're bringing in for training in the EAs and the...
Correct. Part of our requirements for our engineering aides or inspectors, when we bring them in for testing purposes, they have to attend seminars or training sessions, whether it's for concrete testing or asphalt testing. So we do have new employees in that respect from some of the hires from last year. And, we do our due diligence in getting that training done for them. So, obviously, whatever money isn't spent goes back into our general fund. But, each department does submit a request for conferences for their employees, whether it's for training or updating on certain certifications and stuff like that.
Is it then because I'm looking at, some of the past years, it did go up very substantially in the actual for last year. Is that because of those new employees primarily?
That would be part of the increase, yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, Commissioner Drillett, as far as the increase in MTF funds, and I know I've spoken to this before and the question was raised, is it enough to fix the roads that we have that are deteriorated currently? It's basically just a drop in the bucket. It's nice, and it's a betterment, but the roads that we have been deficient for so long as far as the money spent on them. It'll take a huge, vast amount of money, significantly more than what we have currently increased, to get them to a good level. So, we are investing in different programs to improve that exposure to the public as far as doing roads and showing them that we are investing in the infrastructure. But once again, it's nice to have the increase, but it's just a drop in the bucket to get where we need to be.
Thank you. Commissioner Myjack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for coming here today. Just want to say thanks for Engineer Abraham. Thank you for helping me out with some of my constituents in the past. And Brian, I've always called you or talked to your staff, and they've been very helpful to help out my constituents. Commissioner Romano a few weeks ago talked about the Sheriff's Department and the importance of criminal justice and safety being on our residents' minds, which I agree with is important. But this line item, this line item here, road construction and maintenance, is probably up there in terms of, in my opinion, what my residents care about and as far as importance goes. And I think all of you here and Brian would somewhat agree with me on that. What I want to do is just ask you in layman's terms, just so I can understand the road issue better. I'm not an engineer, but I try to be in talking with you guys. So the road department, your responsibility is to maintain and fix our roads, keep them in good shape. And as I understand it, roads are either classified in good, average, or poor condition. Is that right?
Yes, I mean.
Okay. So good, fair,
poor.
Fair and average would be about the same? Okay, but there's also poor also, right? Yeah. Okay. So my question to Brian or your staff, what would you say right now the condition of Macomb County roads are, good, average, poor? Where are we right now with that? In layman's terms, doesn't have to be exact. We about average, below average, poor. We're certainly not all good, which is where we should be. I mean,
obviously, I would say significantly less good roads as far as fair roads. I don't have an exact number.
Would you say that there are average, fair to poor are roads? Would you say falling in those two categories?
Yes, somewhere in that range.
Okay, yes. And it is the hope that with the increase in funds from the 7-cent gas tax increase that went into shape, that will help that.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
We are moving more and more away from capacity jobs, which are the 2 to 5 lane. We used to do significantly more of those types of projects and moving towards more of the maintenance end of it, overlays, and preventive maintenance type projects. We still do our, 2 to 5 lane projects, and we'll do those, but, on a average basis, those are diminishing more and more, and we are looking at more of the pavement preservation programs, the preventive maintenance programs, to upkeep our roads in a fair condition, fair to good.
Gotcha. Now, Mound Road is almost 30 years old, and I know that they have that project, Innovate Mound.
Yes, correct.
11-mile road to M59. To fix something like that, it's not just a repairment thing. I mean, you have to take everything out. You're talking complete reconstruction.
That's correct.
With Mound Road.
Yes.
But you're saying that in the county, there's not many projects like that that are needed, is what you're saying.
Well, we do have that program. We do have capacity jobs upcoming. We're doing 23 Mile Road this next year.
What
between
is that
Frederick-
called again? I didn't hear you. What,
Capacity, which means we're
That's what that
taking from
means?
2-lane to 5-lane. You know, it's
capacity?
a capacity reconstruct project.
Okay, was Van Dyke last year, 15, 18, was that called capacity?
That was, I think it was condition. I don't know that they had lanes.
I don't think they added lanes on that.
Okay.
When I say capacity, we're adding additional lanes for
Okay,
use.
so, but back here, this question is, and you said it yourself, that this increase is just a drop in the bucket. And yes, it's gonna help out, but it's not gonna get all of Macomb County roads to good condition, which what I hear all the time from my constituents, they would like to see it in good condition. I've only heard one issue over 20 years, people telling me at their door they will pay more taxes in a certain area, and that is for roads. Maybe you know, it could be gas taxes, registration. They never talked about that. But the bottom line is that's not going to happen, is it? The way things are in Lansing and the 7-cent increase, and we're going to get better, but we're not going to. There's still going to be a road issue.
Correct.
Okay. Second question here, under the line item, road construction and maintenance. Can you just explain, so 2016, we're at 49.7 million, 2017, 63.5, 2018, 77.5. Okay, so we're going up, and then why are we going down for 2009 and 2020, going to 58 million and flattening out? Why is that happening?
Well, if you can look down at as far as our fund balance, end of year, obviously we have a pretty healthy fund balance, and we are looking at utilizing that to.
Which line item is that? Fund balance beginning of year?
Fund balance end of year.
Okay, I gotcha.
So if you look at that and you look at the years progressing into the future, obviously we have a healthy fund balance. We're looking at spending that down to create more projects and get more exposure as far as repairing for roads. But at some point, you know, we have to back off so our fund balance obviously doesn't become too low as far as an acceptability level. So, you know, we're trying to utilize our dollars.
All right, so is it safe to say that after 2018, these forecasts, when someone calls me and says, how much are we spending on road construction, I'm going to tell them 58.5 million pretty much after 2018. Is that fair to say?
It's a projection, yes. I mean, this is a budget process, obviously, depending on what we spend or don't spend. I mean, you know, whatever our fund balance is at the end of this year, and
Okay.
whatever, you know.
What would be the big
projected.
variables that can make those changes go up or down, in a nutshell? I mean, I think your staff wants to say something.
Well, they may want to.
Well, it would be partly whether we can retain the additional funding. When the Public Act was passed.
Can you come up and speak to the mic, please? Thank you.
When the Public Act was passed in the end of 2015 that provided for the increases in the gas tax and the registration fees, that made up 600 million of the 1.2 billion that was promised. The second 600 billion is the legislative earmark, if you will. It's at the discretion of our state house. So it's in the law, but it's not guaranteed.
I see.
So in our projections, you know, we've looked at what is constitutionally protected and kind of taken the wait and see approach to see if any of the second half of the new money actually materializes.
Okay. Okay, and I guess one of the last questions, Brian, you say a drop in the bucket, you know, 77 million, we're peaking in 2018. How much money do you think we would need for roads to get us all in good condition? 100 million? Just a guess? I mean, I need to know this. I need to, you know, I'm trying to be straight with you and
there's only
understand.
so much we can do in a year in a construction season with our staffing. I mean, you know, I guess I don't have a number for you that I can pull out.
But
and say this is-
you're definitely saying that the money you have is not enough to do what you need to do to get the roads into good condition, which would satisfy all of our residents. That's the point. And until that happens, we're still going to have frustrated drivers out there, I think.
I think either way, we're going to have frustrated drivers depending on where they drive, but we are working towards making more of our roads in a better condition the
Okay.
further we go on.
Okay.
I mean, that's our goal. And to just get back to your question,
Yeah.
John Abraham had presented to me here. Back in 2007, PACER ratings, which is a rating system used through SEMCOG to evaluate roads in the different communities. In 2007, we had good roads, 22%, fair roads, 56%, poor roads, 21%.
Which year was that?
2007.
Okay.
In 2015-16, we had good roads was 21%, which pretty much mirrored what we had
Right.
previously. We had fair of 38%, which decreased, and poor at 42.
So
which
yeah,
has
it's
increased.
definitely, we're definitely going down the wrong way, right?
Yes, but I
But-
mean, obviously with additional funding, we're looking at turning that around to swing that to the better side.
It's just frustrating for me at the local level because I hear that from the residents, and there's nothing I can do. But in simple layman terms, I really think it just comes down to a money issue. I've heard a lot from engineering and German roads. I've heard all that stuff waste. It really boils down to a money issue as it comes to roads. One final thing, Mr. Chair, and I'm sorry I'm talking too much here. St. Clair County does have a road millage here of .25 mils. It's the only county around here that does that, that has that. Brian, do you know that? And how does that work exactly?
I'm not aware of that.
You're not sure? Okay.
And I don't know how.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Commissioner Majak. Commissioner Carabelli. You forgot what you were going to ask? Well, okay. Commissioner Smith.
No. Real quick, I told you when you asked for those 12 people, I was going to ask you to tell me how many more crack sealing jobs did we end up doing by having those put on the payroll? What did we do with those 12? Remember, we hired those 12 employees, and my whole point was I wanted to expand the crack sealing program throughout the county to maximize, extend the life of the roads. Were we able to double the amount of crack sealing? Were we able to add a third onto it? What were we able to do to expand that program?
Well, obviously, that is one of the things that we are looking at as far as, getting a program together to address subdivision roads, local roads, as far as preventive maintenance. That is one of the programs. I know with our maintenance department, with our supervisor, Leo Civada, obviously we put those personnel to good use, whether it's, crack sealing or, obviously we've had a lot of issues with the freeze-thaw cycles this past year in the winter as far as crack filling with coal patch and stuff throughout the winter. They have been put to good use in Necessity, Metro Parkway, Shaner, all the other areas on Mound. Until we can get to those locations and do preventive maintenance as far as patching, we do have our forces in the field full-time on those locations. So, like I said, we are in the process, obviously, just taking over, getting my house in order as far as staffing, getting our department set, and having discussions with all department heads, especially maintenance and the engineering department, as far as getting programs together, one for our maintenance department, maybe for subdivisions, as far as joint sealing and overband sealing, and maybe another program to spend money on, maybe contracting for our local roads, a different contract. But we are looking at putting together programs like that to do the preventive maintenance to make our roads last longer so they don't deteriorate as quickly.
Right, because that was one of my big things. We're going to add those people. I wanted to make sure that I know you did crack sealing. I know that you did some cost sharing with some municipalities, but I just wanted to say, okay, if we're able to do, let's say it's 5% of our roads, we'll be able to do 7% now because we were able to put that manpower on.
I don't have a percentage, but we've increased our volume on primary and local subdivision roads. The issue with crack filling is that it's work that we schedule in the fall, because if it's too hot, the crack sealer won't dry quick enough. We have traffic that runs through our closure or our work zone. So it's something that we do in the fall, which reduces our time frame, Commissioner Carabelli, on how much production we can achieve.
So we'll see you all real soon. Okay, thank you. The next question I have is for line item transfers out to trails, investment income. Steve, can you explain how we're going from 2017 amended to 2018 recommended? Did you say what those numbers were? Because I don't remember that. Steve still here? No. Oh, I apologize. Or do you guys have those numbers? We went from 195,000 up to 511.
Correct.
And what was this for?
The transfer out for trails? That was you. Many years ago, you had asked that we take the interest income
Yes.
and put it aside to use for trails.
And so is it being used, well, the question is, and what is that being used on? Is that, what percentage is that, what percent can you spend on trails? There's a
We have to spend 1%.
minimum of 1%.
Right.
So my question is that 1% plus this interest, is that projected for being
We
spent?
spend way more than 1% on trails. We meet our 1%, so, yeah, we exceed that. And we're now trying to put even a little more away to help with the trails, with using the interest income.
No, and that's perfect. My question is, what about the actual Macomb Orchard Trail line in here? Where's, I'm sorry Steve left, but Vince, do you know where that's at? As far as the actual, because you guys are taking care of the trail for the Trail Commission, for the county.
No, we don't.
No,
take
we
care.
don't take care of the
No.
Macomb Orchard Trail.
No, you guys are actually taking care of, if there's trees that get cut down, it's contracted through the Department of Roads.
No, we do not.
That's through John Crump, that's through, yes, that's through planning.
Okay, I'll reach back to you guys and circle around.
Okay.
I'll get back information and get back to you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Money, Jim, I know that. He's short, like,
Well, let's see.
I know I had probably still $700,000 to $800,000 left from that lawsuit still in the bank. And I just don't know where in the budget. Maybe it's not in your budget.
Yeah, that portion is not within our budget.
That's in the county budget.
That I can answer. That's in the capital. There's a capital project fund for the Orchard Trail. I don't have the details of that with me to discuss today, but I know that that money, the other side of that transfer you're seeing, is into a capital project fund dedicated for the Orchard Trail. Not the maintenance. I think at one time it used to be, but it isn't now for sure. Yeah.
I'll circle back around. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Smith, Chairman Smith.
thank you, Chairman. Brian, welcome.
Thank
To
you.
your first annual.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
we're happy to have you. Yeah. So let's hope it's not your last. I have two questions. One is just, so I see repairs and maintenance and road construction and maintenance, and I'm wondering why there's two maintenance line items and what the difference is in one maintenance versus the next. And I'm looking at a sheet that's pulled out, so I don't have, I'm not looking at the.
I missed the question. I was
So,
talking just about trails.
in the sheet that I have pulled out, and that's probably not exact for there, but there's repairs and maintenance.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's, let's
So
just say.
Repairs and maintenance is building maintenance,
Okay, and road construction and maintenance is roads.
is the roads,
Okay,
correct, yeah. That's
got it.
all of our, all of our buildings, our service centers, our salt domes, all
Okay.
that type of stuff.
No, I just wanted to understand why the two maintenances, I didn't know what they
Yeah.
were. And, so then the last question is, what's included in supplies and services? And my question comes just looking at 2016 actual of 1.3 million to 2018 recommended of 2.2 million. That's almost $1 million in supplies and services. At least an increase in a 2-year period. So I was just wondering what goes into, see, the problem is we don't get.
Supplies and services is another line item where they budget conservatively and then only spend what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll budget for shop equipment. Like I've got a list of different items that fall under there. Our insurance, all of our insurance goes under that.
So you're saying maybe in 2016, they might have budgeted 2 million, but they used
And they did,
actual,
yeah. Our
1.3.
budget has really been pretty consistent.
Okay.
But we only spend what we use. We try to budget more conservatively, so we make sure we have the dollars there.
Right.
And then if we don't spend them, it goes back in the fund balance.
And that's fine, that makes sense. I don't
Okay.
have the actual budget, I just had the actual for
Okay.
2016.
Yep.
And, we don't get to see anything except for that line item of supplies and services at this point without, making a more of a request. But, so I just wanted to know kind of what was in that supplies and services. That supplies and services, when you talk supplies, is that crack fill material, or is that go down to?
No, that would fall underneath the maintenance line item. That would be more like office supplies, computer equipment, computer software,
Okay.
shop
So none of
equipment,
that really
engineering
has to do with
equipment.
road
No,
supplies
no, it's
for
more
fixing or
stuff that's
anything.
utilized right by the staff.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm just going to echo the same thing that Chairman Smith said. You know, it's really hard for us. You know, I don't know if supplies and services, and it's not your fault, Brian. I think it's something to do with the budget process. You know, supplies and services to me would seem like it would be the crack filling and stuff like that we're talking about. Or is it under road construction and maintenance? Now, we've just been answered it's under road construction and maintenance, but it would certainly help us, I guess, to see some of those line items broken down. And I know that's not your concern, Brian, and I want to thank you and I want to thank Leo for the prompt service that you've done for any of the requests that I've had. I do have one question again, and this might be for you. The special revenue fund detail that's in the overall budget, it's page D41 and D42. It comes out to about $77 million for total road construction and maintenance. It's in the big budget. I know Steve's not here, but this line. And again, I'm new on this, but where does this show up on the overall budget? Like the special budget on D41?
Under the road construction and maintenance,
Yeah, I mean, I have a total.
2018 recommended, that's the 77 million that you're looking at right there on
Yes.
D40.
Yes.
That's the breakdown of that cost.
Of that cost right there. That's the
Yes.
breakdown of the recommended 2018.
Yes, of our
Okay.
engineering, road construction projects, our traffic department, and our maintenance.
Yes, the numbers add up. Thank you. That's what I wanted to see.
Kraft.
Thank you,
You're welcome,
appreciate it.
Commissioner.
Kraft is after me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Brian and team, for being here. Really appreciate it. One quick question for you. I'm looking over the project list, and there's an item at the very bottom, 2018 MDOT final accounting for, is that the total or is that the 100,000? I'm having a hard time reading it on my sheet.
So what
I'm just
that-
wondering what
What
that,
that represents is when we have projects with MDOT, they do what they call a final accounting. They'll go through everything, look at all the cost, and then they'll either owe us money back or we'll owe them additional dollars as they close out a project. We always budget 100,000. We don't know what it's going to be, but just so we have some money there in case we do owe them money at the end of the project.
gotcha. Thank you. I was just curious what that item was. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Commissioner Romano, last speaker on my list.
Thank you, Chair. On the lighter side, hi, Brian.
How you doing, Commissioner Romano?
Let's talk about John Abram. I had occasion to speak to Mr. Abram regarding a passing lane on Utica Road, and I think the commissioners heard me at one of the clerk's meetings here to say that she did the two-step. Well, Mr. Abram, you do the two-step and you do it well. But, however, I am going to get that passing lane in 2018. But it's nice to see you, meet you face-to-face, know who I'm talking to. So he did a good job for me, and I appreciate it, Brian. Thank
Great,
you. That's
thank
all
you.
I have.
Have a great
Thank you.
staff, thank you.
Anybody else? You sure? Okay. Thank you. I need a motion to receive and file.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you for you and your team for being here and sitting through this interesting meeting. Probably got cramps. All right. Please, been moved by Carabelli, supported by Commissioner Kraft. All those vote in favor or not? Very good. Very good. The motion passes.